All right, welcome to Jets 55 with Phil and Vinny. For those of you who don't know us yet or just finding us for the first time, this is our podcast number 5, and we're called Jets 55 because both of us have been rooting for the Jets since 1967. Yes, I know it's 56 years. We started it last year. We're not changing it every year. That's just too much hassle. But we're talking about guys that have been around a long time. Weeb Eubank, right? Charlie Winner, Lou Holtz, coaches, Bruce Cosley, Rich Kotite, all of it. But we're here to have fun. We have an exciting podcast. Like I said, it's podcast 5. We want to get our fans involved. It's going to be a lot of fun. But I want to start out. I got to give my boy right there out in California to Philly. By the way, Brooklyn born and raised as I was. Kudos. He said it 2 years ago, right from the beginning when they heard it might be Zach Wilson at pick number 2. He was just saying that whole environment, BYU, never being outside his bubble, just felt like whatever the skill level, just the level of competition, you just didn't feel good about it from the beginning. I poo-pooed you. I had my little cup of tea with my pinky out, giving you my condescending look. Hey. But you know what? The bottom line is the young man, and again, we said it a million times, I'm not bashing, but the young man from BYU could not handle TBA, which is the Big Apple. And dude, I just want to give those, you said it from the very beginning. How would you want to say? Then tell all our fans the great news, then the fun we're going to be having.
No, the bottom line is, first of all, you threw a Lou Holtz number at me. And all I could think of is the guy actually wrote a fight song for the Jets. It's like, dude, what are you kidding me?
And how many of our fans, how many Jets fans, maybe even 40 years old?
Oh my God.
Charlie Winner. Holtz, Bruce Cosley, these guys, how they,
don't forget Joe Walton, the nose picker, you know what I mean?
It was the double dig. It was That's the double dig.
My God, but no.
It's a great history, but tell our fans about great news we have.
Well, look, I never thought the kid was gonna get there, but look, we're gonna move on from that, and it's okay. It's time's up for him as far as I can see, and I think everybody sees that. And all you see in the paper all the time now is who's next, right? Who's going to?
But you made a good point. Isn't he the only one on the contract?
I know it's a scary thing, but he is. He's the only one that right now we can point to. But, I think we're going to do a new segment, right? We talked about this the other day, okay?
Every podcast.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is you're going to see in a couple seconds popping up in front of you, right? Our email address. And what we're going to do with our email addresses, we're going to pop up a question for you guys, okay? So you're going to answer your question, right? Our question based on your own experience and what you think. And it's all your opinions. There's no right or wrong answers, except, of course, our answers. We know our answers are right. So, Vin, what's the first question of the week, my friend?
Well, the first question, and what happened in podcast 5, we're going to ask the question. You answer it with your emails, put your first name, last initial, the town you're in. So it might be, Bill C from, Hoboken, whatever, giving his answers. Hopefully we'll get to as many as possible. Now, Phil, you wanted an intelligent Jets football question. I went totally the other way. We're starting off with a crazy question. Originally, it was going to be like, because we're hearing about quarterbacks, and we know, Voldemort's name came up, Tom Brady, a little bit. It's not going to happen. So the question was, we were going to say, well, would you want him on the Jets, yes or no? But we're changing the question. Here's the question to our brethren out there. If he is the quarterback, not going to happen. But if Tom Brady's a quarterback of the New York Jets next year, can you live? Can you breathe? Do you bail?
Could you handle it, man?
You move to another country?
Could you live with it?
Can you handle it? That's the question. If Tom Brady, and we know it's not going to happen, but let's have some fun. Right. If Tom Brady is the quarterback of the Jets next year, we know he hates the Jets. He's never coming. Poo-poo him. Whatever. Don't care. But again, let's have some fun. If Tom Brady, $1 billion shot, is the Jets quarterback next year,
could you live with it?
As Jets fans, so let me, Philly boy, answer the question.
I got to tell you, okay, you got me thinking now. I remember a guy, right? Some people out there might not remember the Jets, 20 years or so ago. Jonathan Vilma, right? Great little linebacker for a little while. He ended up going to the Saints, and he did really well. But he was with the Jets for a few years, right? So I remember this one game, right, the guy's got a beeline to Brady, right? So even back then, it was rare. It was really rare for anybody to put a lick on him, right? So Vilma, he has this clear shot on him, right? So I remember us being enraged back then, talking about it back then, because what does he do? He does the flick instead of the hit, right? So what does he do? He's trying to like knock the ball out of Brady's hand and be a hero. So what does Brady do? He steps up in the pocket like nothing. Nothing happened at all, right? So my point is, look, instead of that happening right then and there, and you hit him, and you wear him down, so his time is shortened, he's made a career out of avoiding the hit. So today, that's why he's still here 20 years later. Look, I'm talking about the hauntings of 20 years ago, right? And this guy is still here because he's avoided the hits for that much time. So could I handle it if he comes to us? You know what? Yeah, I can handle it. It's not happening, but he's still in good shape. What the heck? If he wants to come here, I don't like it's not going to happen. But like I said, he's made a career out of not getting blasted. So that's why we're still dealing with this guy all these years later. But it's like, it is, Vinny, it's the Stockholm syndrome. Okay. I'm like, yes, we want him by now. It's okay. Yeah, it's all right. And he's not in our division anymore. So I'm over him. But God, the guy caused us so many sleepless weeks. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, no. Could I handle it? What about you? What about you?
I'm hoping for a lot more fun responses from our fans. Go email again, first name, last name, initial, but I'm kind of with you. I think I could maybe a little excited by it. I know it's horrible. Like I said, it's more like he who should not be named, Voldemort, and but so many things that have I guess when you see someone doing that well, you kind of dislike them, especially when they're not on your team. But that's my answer. Hope you get plenty of fans chiming in. But what do you say? Let's go to reality. Let's start off with a real Jets football. What's going on? And already, start us off with the O-line coach. We got some good hires. Keith Carter. What do you think? And I'm excited. I'll tell you why I'm excited by him and what's going on further. So what do you think of our O-line guy coming in?
Vin, it's like this. He had Henry, right? So the guy knows how to, get the job done. And the guy was there to help them with their running game. And the guy coming in here with Breece Hall, you got to believe is going to be able to replicate to a certain degree some of the things that they had been doing over there. But look, there's a reason why he's not there anymore, but there's a reason why we move our guys out too. So I think a fresh start, a clean slate, sometimes is what you need. And these guys know they're all on the same page. They have to fix this offense right now. And where do you start? You start with the O-line. You start with the running game. You start with a guy that's going to establish what you're going to be able to do once you have your quarterback situation figured out. So, I don't see it as a bad thing. What about you? You like the guy? What do you think?
You know what? Listen, if you look at his track record, all I see is a lot of good results. Yeah, he has Derrick Henry. I get it. Well, you know what? We have Breece Hall and a young Breece Hall. So what happened is he's done things for many years that we haven't had happen. Like good consistency with the running game. Again, yeah, I get it, Derrick Henry, but a lot of good things. A lot of good things.
Yeah, you're right.
There's a lot of good things in the running game in the red zone. So listen, change is good sometimes. You have to appreciate good coaches, good O-line coaches, because I got to tell you, I'm not a betting man, and thank God, because I would have bet the house that the Bills are going to beat the Bengals. Of course, the Bengals had 3 starters on the offensive line out. How are they going to handle it? And you could see how well those guys that were playing on that line, that game, how well they would coach to play a phenomenal game. So it means something. Yeah. So we haven't had that in a long time with someone, listen, out of injuries, blah, blah, blah. We know what the situation is. Still got to get a good cohesive unit up there. Too many injuries. We all know about that. We'll be talking about that on other podcasts and everything. But listen, fresh face. I'm excited. And listen, it's what we have to be as Jets fans. This is it, Jets fans. This is our season.
You talk about
we hope.
I know you got to have hope. We talked about that.
Baby.
This is our season, the hope season. Remember, but one name that was floated out there was Bill Callahan, right? And they had him years ago, and they had a really good old line. when he was around. They also had great ball players, right? So he turned them down. He's not interested. He's staying where he is. But I mean, I like that it's young blood. It's newer guys. It's guys that are trying to prove something. He's got some, connections with Saleh. He does, Carter, and that's a big plus because we know LaFleur did. We know that there was some connection with his brother and Saleh. They're all this big, beautiful, happy family and all of that. Now he's out on his butt. Goodbye, right? So you got to produce. So that's really what it's about. It's only about how good you make your team. You can't go 7-4 and lose out the year and tell me that guy can stay. You got to make these changes, right? So I'm with you. I think you bring in a guy that had some success, and he's going to have a young stud. So maybe he has a young Henry, and maybe he could do some good things there, right? But they also brought in another coach, Vin, right? They also solved the offensive.
Well, I'm always laughing. What did they say? Sins of our fathers come back to haunt you.
Right. Yes.
But you know what? Listen, Hackett isn't a favorite word in the Jets world.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know what happened there. There was a guy who had his game plan. That was it. Done. Never adapted. Then that was it. Not able to adapt when Pennington went down and Testaverde was back. Just couldn't figure it out. But we're going with a guy who, again, I think has a good track record out there, and our new young man Hackett. And I like what I see. I mean, I see things that we don't see for the Jets. And when I see so much production and good seasons under his watch as offensive coordinator, so many top 10 offenses, this, that, the other thing, not every year, but for a good portion, it's exciting. It's exciting. I'm not gonna, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, but he's his own man. So that's another thing that makes me kind of, again, hopeful with it.
We're going to talk about this for a few minutes because you know what? This is the one they got to get right. They got to get this right.
Has to be right.
It's a complete flush down the ball again thing. Now, look, Paul Hackett, right? His dad. The problem, you got that one. There you go. Right. The problem with Paul Hackett was he came in with Testaverde, not Vinny Lopretto, Vinny Testaverde, right? We joke around. But look, the bottom line there was you had a pocket passer and you had a guy who in Hackett was all about the West Coast offense. So when you take that square peg into that round hole, it doesn't work. That was the mistake. It wasn't that he's a horrible coach. I know he went to USC, and I'm not a fan. I never liked him, but I didn't like him for that reason more than anything else, is that he didn't adapt to what he had. Now, I think his son, who's been around, he was with Saleh in the past, right? So he knows what, they need to do. He earned a head coaching job because he was a good OC, like you just said. So now he's humbled. He's been socked in the belly, right?
Well, that's no concern of mine because it's not an uncommon thing where a head coach, not a very long, time, gets whacked and is back doing what he does. And I'm fine with that. That happens a lot of times. And like I said, you go by his track record as an offensive coordinator. There's been some good years for him. And a lot of these guys don't hack it as, excuse me, that's not even a pun.
They don't hack it. There you go. Right?
Yeah. Well, by the way, anybody watching that got the Buddy Hackett joke, you're old. But yeah, so I'm fine with that. That's again, it's a very common thing where you see a guy losing the coaching job, not there very long, and back to doing what he does best.
Right.
So I'm very comfortable, feeling good. I think it's a good hire, but you never know.
He's got
something to be really positive.
He's got a lot to prove because he needs to show that. Again, Russell Wilson said all the right things. He was great. He was sad to see him get blown out of there. But some guys, look, we're the best team for creating coaches that go back to being coordinators, right? Like, Herm Edwards couldn't get it done. He shouldn't. All these guys, even Rex Ryan, they're coordinators. That's it. So now we got a guy on the other end of it who tried to be a head coach. And now he's back to being a coordinator. So maybe he puts his head down, right? You see these guys on the sidelines doing the playoffs, right? All these dudes, Giants, ex-Giants head coaches, everybody, you come back and you do what you do well. You stay in your lane. You stay in that freaking lane and you get the job done. So if this guy can do that. And look, he's going to have weapons, man. He's going to have, if they get that whole line fixed, right? Which now, hopefully, like you said, this guy Carter can do, and they can get a good running game going because Brees Hall will be back and he'll be in great shape. You hope that, he does that rebound like Barkley did with the Giants, right? And all of a sudden, you have some weapons and a guy that maybe can make something out of it. So, I mean, we'll have to see, but that's what we're rolling with. So, look, Vinny, we're always about making it half glass full because we have to. Because, like you said, the name of the show is Jets 55. It's, it's 1967. Jesus,
112 years between the both of us rooting for the Jets. And what did you call it? Like, what, 5 minutes of, what did you call it?
I said it's like 55 years of misery interrupted with about 5 minutes of joy. You know what I mean? It's like, you had some good moments. I mean, we're old enough to remember Namath, okay? But I feel bad for everybody else because you get the 4 championship games, and every single time you don't get it done for whatever the heck the reason is, you got to get back to the big game. I mean, my God, and it's just nuts. So at this point, we're always looking ahead. And now, people, if they get the next, step completed properly, which we're going to talk about in a second or two, then that might be the missing piece that puts them over the top. And we can maybe next year look towards people believing it can happen, that they actually go deep, that they actually can take that next step. So, but what we're talking about, right?
Well, speaking of that, listen, I've been saying
it, man. Yeah.
Right. I've been saying it for the longest time. Everybody knows this, what I've been saying. This is a quarterback-driven year. There's not going to be a Trent Dilfer anymore. The 2000 Ravens, that was a okay quarterback at best. All the teams that do well have usually really, really good quarterbacks.
Joe Burrow's a rock star, man. Yeah.
Rock star, right? It's always the same time. And listen, I keep hearing it. Everybody out there, all those supposed experts, but people that even don't like the Jets are saying, listen, a good quarterback, they're in the playoffs this past year. A good quarterback, they're in. Extremely obvious with a top 5 defense and some good offensive weapons. With a good quarterback, we're in the playoffs. So speaking of Hackett, are we going to say it? Are we going to lead into it? Are you going to say his name? We doing this? We doing it, Phil?
Yeah, we're going with the big name is, of course, Rodgers, right? The big Aaron Rodgers man. I mean, that's what we're looking at. That's the thing that, okay, is Hackett going to be the lightning rod that brings him in? Is he the magnet that gets him in there? And that's another question. Do you want him? We had Brady. Look, the thing is, that's what we're talking about. We need to fix that spot. And if they do, I really feel you can see some really fun days ahead with this team. It's just, is it lightning in a bottle? How long is it going to last, right? Who cares? If we get 2 years out of it and they win, they get it done, we're good. It's fine.
I think this isn't a Favre thing, one and done. I think at their age, it's a different world now. Guys in the late 30s, early 40s, they play like guys in their early 30s. They're healthy like guys in their early 30s if they never got too beat up. He's another guy who's never really feel like he's gotten too beat up.
Knows how to get rid of the ball,
He's always playing. So, yeah, if I can get him for 2-3 years, and I will say this, and let it be known here, I might have said it before, I'm going to say it again. If Aaron Rodgers is the Jets quarterback next year, I think I said it the last podcast, when you're old, forget. I'm giving the number 1. I will predict a Jets Super Bowl victory.
Yeah, I mean, look, man, Vinny, you know why you're right about that? Think about it. They had a top 5 defense. Salah's a defensive-minded guy. Do you think they're going to go backwards, or do you think they're going to shoot for number 1?
Yeah, no.
So if they continue in the right direction and they beef up what they can do on that side of the ball, they know they need some work in special teams, right? They still have a little bit of help that they need there. They need to be a little bit more crisp in that department. But I really think that we're looking at a spot in time for them that you really have to get everybody on the same page. You got to have your coach, your GM, your coach, your assistant coaches, the players, all going for that same goal and not just saying it. So if you get a guy in there like Rodgers, you get a veteran in there and he's running the ship, they they snap too. It's a different feeling. And then he becomes that field general, and all of a sudden everybody's accountable. Everybody, there's an extra bounce in their step, And look, I've had my moments. I wasn't a big fan at times with him. I was a Favre guy originally, but the guy's been there. He's been throwing numbers up forever. You can't really argue with that. You could also talk about some of the other choices that are there. There's two other names that we can talk about, but the word right now is that I think it's going to be him, because I think Hackett coming in and the buzz right now, and I think they mentioned something that Washington, it's not looking as good, that he might go there. I think he wants to come here. He's on the podcasts every week, and he's talking about the Jets like he has intimate knowledge about them and about Zach Wilson. So what better way to be a big fan of Zach Wilson than to come in and take his job and keep him on the bench for 3 years? It's like beautiful, But I think that's great for Wilson too.
Listen, if he teaches the kid,
he did that for how many years behind Favre, right? So I don't know if the kid's ever going to make it, and I don't care. But if we can get it done right now, because you got a lot of free agents on this team, defense and offense, that you have to pull it together. But if you bring a quarterback in like that, it's going to be like, well, okay, people are going to want to come, people are going to want to stay.
Well, listen, it's known that I'm a big Mike White fan, still am. I wish they would do a lot this offseason with him, get him better shape, get him a little more thicker, get him a little bit more muscle, give a work program out for the kid.
Yeah.
I like that kid. But when you talk about an Aaron Rodgers, it just changes everything. I don't care about the draft picks. Next year is, money-wise, they're looking really good, cap and stuff there. And the year after that, they're even looking better. So the cap situation is looking really good. The Jets are probably the best team to handle him money-wise and take care of it. So my thing would be, you got Hackett, bring him in. Let's have a 2-3 year run. Sometimes maybe longer. Brady's not going away. These guys seem to be passionate about playing and winning. I think this guy, Aaron Rodgers, dreams about multiple Super Bowl wins. I think that's what he always wanted. He had a lot of ugliness, that onside kick with Seattle, which ruined everything. A crazy game in Arizona with a Green Bay defense that was good, gave up a ton of points, and they wound up losing that one where they won. It should have been in the Super Bowl. There's so many situations that arose where this guy hit the wall. Amazing at Green Bay. I mean, if you're Green Bay, you should be supplying this guy with receivers galore. Yeah. They just seem to just torture this guy with receivers, and then they get him a real good one, and before you blink, he's gone. So right. I'm all in. I would be into it, and it would just change everything. And like I said, I'm guaranteeing if he's the Jets, I'm guaranteeing the Jets Super Bowl victory. Thank you.
Hey, boy. Hey, listen, you know what? I think you're making a good point about Rodgers' psychology. I don't think his legacy is finished.
Not good.
I don't think it's written the way he wants to be written. I think he wants a little bit of a Peyton Manning ending to it, where he goes somewhere else and he gets the job done because of him. He goes somewhere else. He goes in there, does what they need, throws 40 touchdowns, and brings them down when they need it. They get it done. I think he needs that too. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. We all know that. But it's one thing to get in. It's another to be, wow, that guy really was a winner, and he's not yet. He's got to get that other win, and why not do it with us? That's the way I look at it.
He's not sleeping well he doesn't want to be one and done, one-time Super Bowl champ. Hey, great to be that champion. This guy knows he should have multiple. I'm even thinking more than two. So, how great if we can benefit from that. That would be exciting. Now, going in another direction, that's our A+ guy, but there's a few B's out there that are better than what we have. So I guess the next one we're looking at is Derek Carr. Definitely doesn't give us the big excitement, but he's thrown numbers that we haven't had in a long time. He's put up numbers. He had some good year where they gave him the contract and things were looking great and they felt like they were really on the cusp of something. It didn't happen. But what are you thinking about, definitely a step or two below Rodgers, but Derek Carr coming to the Jets? What's your thoughts on that?
Here's the thing about Carr, right? And you got youth. He's younger, right? And he still doesn't come free. He's going to cost some. If they release him, that's one thing, right? But they're going to want to trade him, and I think he'll come obviously with a lot less than a guy like Rodgers would. But you know what? The guy does have, like you said, that resume that with the right system and a good defense, he too could have a ring. He should, you know. It's like we go back to Rodgers.
He showed some flashes of being, at least he showed flashes. He's shown flashes.
Yeah, you know, the year he got hurt, if he would have gotten it done and would have won and all that, you know, then that was his time. It didn't happen. But, you know, like Aaron Rodgers got his victory. People still say that was Favre's team still, you know. So, you know, Carr still hasn't arrived with that championship. You know, you got to try and get into the game. You know, you got to at least get in. So, I don't know. I think if you can't get one, you can't see another one as an afterthought. You got to look at them as equals. Otherwise, you're going to go crazy. You know, is it Rodgers or is it Carr? All right. They each have their positives that will improve the team. You know, they're still going to either way be a much better team on the offensive side of the ball, even if you throw Garoppolo in there, because Garoppolo, man, costs nothing. It's free agent. You know, I know people are down on him, and I understand that he's not really the rock star, you know, big time name like the other three. Remember, we're still talking about Brady, right? You know, he's still out there. Could you handle it? No, but I mean, remember, it's like these three guys, and then Garoppolo. He might make the best sense because he's still going to be. He's gotten to the Super Bowl. He throws some touchdowns, and I don't know. You know, it's like it's a tough between those three. Obviously, you want Rodgers because you want to, you know, get it done now. And we're always looking to the future. Who cares anymore? Let's do it and get it done right now, right? But, you know, Vinny, we talk about quarterbacks. My God, you know, you go back to 1983. We've had in this division, right? Dan Marino from 83 to 99. You've had Jim Kelly from 86 to 96. You've had Manning, who was in the division from 98 to 01 until they realigned in 02. And of course, you have Brady with 2000 to 2019. It's like almost 40 years of, my God, you know, we don't have a real top-notch quarterback. We just have to go against them. They got to get one in there now. They have to get somebody that brings them to the promised land. And I think you're right. It's probably Rodgers, you know, but that's the key. You know, what's the right move? You tell me of those three.
Listen, I know JD, listen, love him. Not perfect drafts, but and everybody keeps saying the O-line, but so much of it was so many injuries. Then that's part of how do we keep these guys healthy? There's so much that, you know, could talk about. It's a little boring talk, but you know, I think you could get it done. I think they could figure it out. And it just instantly changes everything. I mean, listen, what didn't happen, and he's on you know, one of our division teams, you know, but look how hot. So we kind of got excited when Hill might be a Jet, you know, what a wide receiver. He winds up going to Miami. Okay, whatever. I think, you know, JD, you know, did his best, gave the best offer. He chose Miami. But come on, seeing how excited we were for Hill, how exciting do you think it's going to be to get an Aaron Rodgers? Everything changes. I could deal with Derek Carr, but if we get a Derek Carr, I think that should come with him having to have a competition with Mike White. You know, Mike White should have a chance to still be the quarterback. So Aaron Rodgers comes in.
Wilson, though? What do you do with Zach Wilson, though? My God.
You know what? I just can't anymore. It's you know, I keep going back. Well, you know, this LaFleur, that, but every time another quarterback came in, they would light it up. Last year, you know, Josh Johnson, you know, a guy you never heard of, you know, comes in one game, lights it up. You know, Streveler comes in 145 yards in the fourth quarter. All of a sudden, they're moving all over the place. You know, Wilson's in there, they look horrible. Streveler comes in and, you know, what, fourth string? What do you want to call him? A bench warmer? I like Streveler. Streveler comes in 145 yards. So I'm tired of, well, the Jets, this, that. You know what? You get it done or you don't get it done. How much can you learn? But when the fundamentals of the quarterback position, when the fundamentals are so porous on a quarterback that's supposed to be playing this game his whole life, I just don't, I just wanted to give you kudos in the beginning. I'm done with the kid in my eyes.
Yeah, you're
Even
right.
though
And you know what? If they get Rodgers or Carr, the first thing they do is they're going to release him or they'll trade him.
I
Somebody
think
just let him
so.
go. He's gone. They don't need it because he's on.
Listen, Mike White didn't give a good game in Seattle, but the guy was hurt. Guy was playing extremely hurt, so I give him a pass on that game. And but you know what? We keep saying it. If it looks like a duck and swims like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. We keep saying it.
Whack, yeah.
So,
Hey, you know what though? He's on a rookie contract still. And he's got 2 years to go. If they eat that and get rid of him and get a 6th-round pick or something, if someone else wants him, and you get Rodgers or you get Carr, there's no more baloney. It's like Mike White and him, or Derek Carr and Mike White. It becomes a new Nathaniel Hackett doesn't want that nonsense. That stays with LaFleur. The whole
oh yeah,
Wilson stuff. You're out. He's gone. I think he's gone too. And I really think that's what they're doing. And we talk about the ownership before, and he's made it clear that he's willing to spend to get a quality quarterback. He wants and expects a marquee name in there. And that name is Rodgers. So I would be surprised if it doesn't happen at this point. I'm going to say that. I'm going to say
I don't know if I would say surprised, but you feel like it's very doable. And like I said, I wouldn't. If they don't get him, like you kind of mentioned, if someone else gets him, then that's a big disappointment. Someone else gets him. He's not in Green Bay next year. He's not with us. That's a huge disappointment. But if we don't get him when he stays with Green Bay, if we get a guy like Carr, I'm not going to cry in my soup. I'll hope for the best with that. Of course, I think that young man has shown glimpses, whereas everything else we have doesn't show any glimpse of just nothing.
I think we make a mistake sometimes of thinking that missing piece is, because we need that little extra. He needs to go where it's going to help him, because Green Bay, without him, they're not anywhere near as good as the Jets are right now. We hate to say that. Oh, we're going to jinx us. They're a good team, the Jets. They really are. Well balanced, well coached.
Well, I think
Garrett Wilson with 1,000 yards with no quarterback. So what can you do with a quarterback? So you got like Rodgers. He's going to want to go to a team where they have a great running back. They have the receivers all set in place, and a couple of good tight ends. I think the guy would be thrilled to go to a situation like that. Where's he going to go? To a team that's falling apart? Like he's in a team right now that's kind of lost a little bit, the Packers. So, they did well because of him. So I think he wants to go to a team that he can enhance and not win because of him, but with him. That's all. And I think
I agree. And I think what happened is they're a young team, but they're a young team that's little by little gaining experience, which is good. So I think that's a nice fit for him. It's not 2 years ago with the Jets, and he said it. He was talking about the Jets on the McAfee show, and he was saying, "Listen, when we did the scrimmage with them 2 years ago, they had nobody on offense, and now he started, ticking it off. Garrett Wilson, the couple of tight ends they got, which are good, and then of course, Breece Hall, who's really good. So he was ticking off names." So listen, let's hope.
And he was trying to make it okay and do the right thing about how do you handle the Wilson stuff, because the young kid, he's got all the talent and all that, because he's not trying to, he wants the young guys to come up in the league, but they had nobody the first year, but this year they did, so you cannot, there's no excuse. So
my dream is
dead horse with that. They need a good quarterback, and luckily this year they got a couple that are out there. Some years it's not the case. You got 3, 4. You want to go back to Brady again? No.
Well, right.
You have real opportunities that don't usually come along, so they got to pull the trigger on it. They got to do something.
My dream is we get Aaron Rodgers. He wins 3 Super Bowls in a row while tutoring Mike White, and then he retires with 3 Super Bowls in a row, and then Mike White continues.
That's right. We could go into our old age home saying, "Look at that! It finally happened." But right now, it's it's always a guess, but I feel
Well, it used to be, oh, they got to win before we get older. Now it's like they got to win before we're in diapers. Please, we need it. We need something.
right. No,
But
yeah,
I don't know what the timeline is if we're ticking down, but I think we have to,
yeah.
let everybody know we'd be a little remiss if we didn't talk about it. We're not going to talk about it now, but we're going to talk about it on our next podcast, number 6. Besides going over the answers to the great question, we got to bring up one of the greatest Jets ever, Joe Klecko, Hall of Fame possibility. He better get in. And
Bet.
we're not going to talk about it now, but we're going to give our reasons. And I think I'm going to give some good reasons, not even being a Jets fan talking. I was furious when Fran Tarkenton wasn't getting in. I was like, how can Fran Tarkenton not get in?
Yeah.
And I'm not a Minnesota Vikings fan, obviously. But so we're gonna podcast number 6. We got a lot to look forward to. We're gonna see those answers to the great question with Tom Brady being our quarterback next year, if he can handle it. And then we'll definitely talk about Joe Klecko and a few other things. And again, we'll come up with a question in podcast number 6. We'll come up with a question that will look for the answers in podcast number 7. So we want to keep the fun rolling, hear from our fans, see what they think. Probably more exciting answers than we said, and it should be a lot of fun talking about
You're
it.
right. You brought up Klecko, and you're right. We're gonna spend a lot of time on that. But let's face it, that sack exchange doesn't happen without him. So he was the rock. So, but like you say, we're going to talk about that, and because that was when we had a lot of fun the old days. We'll talk about that. But so what do you say? We're good. You want to give that email again, Vin? What do you say? Here it is. Let's
send up the email. Look, the email should be on the screen now. And again, the question, just saying that Tom Brady did become the Jets quarterback next year. Can you, like I said, can you deal with it? Do you go to another team? Do you not root for them, or put yourself in a bubble until he's gone? Well, I'm just loving to see some of the answers from our fans to the great question. So looking forward to that.
Got it. A lot of fun, buddy. We'll talk again.